Okay, I think all of you have joined. Good morning, all. Uh, okay, we'll start the class now. So, in the last class, I started the first chapter. In that, I explained revolutionist, evolutionist, and the object-oriented paradigm. Next, I explained about the accidental versus essential complexity. After that, I explained the waterfall model and the iterative model. Right. So today we are going to study about another topic, that is same versus a different language prototyping. So when we are discussing about the prototyping is having two main philosophies. One is called as the same language prototyping. Other one is the different language prototyping. So before knowing about the advantages and disadvantages of same and different language prototyping, first we'll see what is a same language prototyping and different language prototyping. So, what is same language prototyping? It's a philosophy of prototyping in which the language is used for the prototype is same as the language used for the end product. What it means we are using the same language to develop the prototype as well as to implement the that particular prototype. Or implementing that particular software or the product. Understood? Same language prototyping means we are using the same language or one language for both the prototype development as well as for the implementation. And different language prototyping means the prototyping and as well as for implementing that. So before moving on to the different language prototyping, using the same language for developing stages of using the same language prototyping. Here, the advantages to use the same language prototyping is that the development team need only one language, okay, for developing the prototype as well as for implementing it. So, which implements one set of tools, one set of books, and one learning curve, and also one set of training. So, if we use the same set of tools, same set of books, and same training can be given for the team who involved in developing the prototype and also for the team who involved in the implementation of the product. So we're using the same tools, same books, and same strategies, and also same set of training. That is the advantage in the same language prototyping. But the major disadvantage of same language prototyping is that whenever the developers writing the code, they may write the codes in the garbage manner. Means they're writing the garbage code that leads to the lack of efficiency, robustness, or extensibility. Understood? Here you know the advantage, right? What is the advantage of same language prototyping? The advantage is that we can make use of the same set of tools, same set of books, and same sort of training can be given for the prototyping team and for the development team. But the major disadvantage is that during the implementation or during writing the code, if the developers writes the garbage code, okay, there is a chance that the developer may write the garbage code, then this garbage code leads to the lack of efficiency, robustness, or extensibility. Understood? So when you use the same language prototyping, there is a chance that the developers may write the garbage code. If the developers write the garbage code, what happens? That may lead to the lack of efficiency, robustness, or the extensibility. Means these are reduced when we are using the same set of same language prototyping. Basically, what is prototyping or what is the purpose of prototyping? The purpose of prototyping is to test the design ideas and requirements feasibility and not to implement the final product. Okay, only the final product means implement that leads to the implementation phase or the coding phase. But in the prototype phase, what we are doing, we are developing the model and we are testing that model whether that is meeting the user requirements or not, and that is not the final product. Understood? So after requirement analysis, we will move on to the development of the prototype, right? That is that exists in the design phase. So in the design phase, we will develop the prototype, and using that prototype, we are checking whether that developed prototype meets the user requirements or not. If not, then once again we need to modify it. So developing the prototype is testing the user requirements, and you think that is it a final product? No, it is not the final product. It is just a testing version to test whether it meets the user requirements or not. So that is the major part of the prototyping. And as I said, the major disadvantage of same language prototyping is what? The developers may write the garbage code that may lead to the lack of efficiency, robustness, and extensibility, right? Along with that, one more disadvantage is there in the same language prototyping. So another is that is another disadvantage is that language issues may cloud a designer judgment at the time of system development. So what it means? So for example, let us consider that the developers means who are writing the codes, some developers may use the C++ because it is a multi-paradigm language, and as opposed to the pure object prototyping. Means here, even though they are using the same language prototyping for developing the prototype and for implementation, but what happens when they are using the language for the implementation, different developers may use different languages. For example, one team may use, or two members may use C++ for implementing the product, and the two members may use the Smalltalk or other pure object oriented languages. If that is the case, then the problem arises, because integration of the final code or the final module is very difficult when the developers uses different languages for the implementation. Understood? Any doubt in same language prototyping? Yes. Ipana?
No, ma'am, no doubt.
Okay, Pranati?
No doubts.
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊತಿದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್, ಅಥವಾ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಉಳಿದವರು? ಪೃಥ್ವಿ, ಅಫ್ಸಾ, ಸಾರಾ, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊತಿದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ? ಯು ಆರ್ ಲಿಸನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಮೈ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್, ರೈಟ್?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Understood same language prototyping?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt? So as the name itself indicates that we are using the one language or the same language for the prototype and as well as for implementation. Understood? But what are the disadvantages I said? What are the disadvantages? Garbage code means if the developer writes the garbage code, then that leads to the lack of lack of efficiency, extensibility, and robustness. Right. Another disadvantage is even though we are using the same language, if the developers uses different language for implementation, because in the developer team more than two members are there, right? More than two members will be there. If one uses C++ and other uses Smalltalk or other pure object oriented language, then what problem arises? Integration problem arises, right? That we need to solve it. So these are the two major disadvantages of using the same language prototyping. Next, we'll move on to the different language prototyping. So what is different language prototyping? Here we are using one method, one language for prototyping and other language for implementing the application or the product. Understood? Is clear? Different, as the name itself indicates, we are using different languages for prototyping and for implementing the product or the application. Okay, so different language prototyping is a philosophy of prototyping in which the language used for the prototype is different from the language used for the applications. Clear? Then, if it is a different language prototyping, then what happens? We need to use different set of tools, a different set of books, a different the different learning curves, as well as we have to use the different set of training. Because if one team involved in prototyping and is using one language to develop that, other team who involved in developing the product is using different language, then we have to give the separate training for the development team as well as for the implementation team. Yes. So in the different language prototyping, if we are using different languages for developing the prototype and for the implementation, then we have to give separate training for the design team as well as for the implementation team. Similarly, we have to use separate set of tools, separate set of books, and two learning curves are to be used for the different language prototyping. So one best example for different language prototyping is a typical language combination is a small tag for the prototyping and C++ for the target language of the application. So here one language will be used by the design team and the other language may be used by the development team. So or if you consider the C programming will be used by the design team and C++ will be used by the development team. So this is called as the different language prototyping. As we know that the major problem with this is we have to use different set of tools, different set of books, and different sort of training to be given for the implementation team and as well as for the design team. So this is about the same language prototyping and different language prototyping. Understood different language prototyping? Yes? Any doubt in this? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so in the exam, they may ask, explain about the same and different language prototyping techniques. Then you have to explain this. What is same language prototyping? Then what is different language prototyping? Then what are the advantages of same language prototyping and disadvantage? And also in case of different language prototyping. So first you have to give the definition, then you have to specify what are the advantages and disadvantages of same language and different language prototyping. Clear? Okay. Next we'll move on to one more topic called as software reusability. So you're already familiar with the software reusability, right? You've already implemented some of the projects using C or C++, Java and all, right? So what is software reusability? As the name itself indicates, we can reuse the software, means not the entire software, some part of the code may be reused in different programs or in different applications. It leads to the software reusability. And so before studying the software reusability, so first we'll see how to control the essential complexity. Because in the last class, we discussed about the accidental and essential complexity, right? So when the essential complexity arises, when the essential complexity arises, if the software itself is having the intrinsic difficulty or intrinsic complexity, then it leads to essential complexity. And even if you use other tools or any resources, but it is very difficult to eliminate the essential complexity. That I explained in the last class, right? So here we are mainly concentrating on controlling the essential complexity. As I said in the last class that it is very difficult to eliminate the essential complexity, but we can minimize the essential complexity or we can control the essential complexity to some extent. Okay, so that we are concentrating here. So another method for controlling the essential complexity is to avoid the development of software altogether. Means what? So suppose let us consider that I have given one problem and you are finding the solution for that. So when you are finding the solution, you may require So if you consider developing one operating system or any application, okay, so when you are developing that application, you may require the use of the spreadsheets, you may require the use of the PowerPoints, or you may require the use of the word sheets. Okay, if that is the case, then what the developer will do is, instead of developing the spreadsheets or the PowerPoint applications or the MS Word application, what they are going to do, they are going to buy it rather than developing their own software. Understood? That is the case. Instead of building the software, why not you buy it? Because buying the software is less costlier when compared to developing the required software. Understood? See, for your application, right, you need the use of you need spreadsheets, PowerPoints, or the best example is you also need the calculator. Okay, so if you need the calculator, what you are going to do, or what the development team will do, instead of developing the new that calculator application, they are going to buy it from other developers, and buying the part of buying that particular software and implementing in your product is less costlier when compared to developing the newer calculator application. Understood? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? Suppose best example is you're using smartphones, alva. Smartphones ಅಲ್ಲಿ which type of operating system is there? Nowadays you're using the Android software.
Android.
Yes, Android operating system is there. So once you purchase the mobile, Android software is already installed in your mobile, right? Next, usually the applications, for example, you need the WhatsApp application, or you need the Facebook application, or you need some other applications. Right, ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀರಾ? ಯು ಆರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪರ್ಸ್, and those softwares or the applications you are installing, right? But the Android has not developed these applications. The Android may buy these applications. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು? Yes, following. Instead of building the software, why not buy it? That is the condition we are discussing about that point, right? Means, so whatever the applications, small applications we need, instead of developing those applications, we can buy it from other developers. The advantage is buying those softwares from different developers is less costlier when compared to developing their own softwares. Because ಈಗ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟರ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟರ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಕೂರಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ. They can simply buy it from other developers, and they can implement, or they can make use of it in their product. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ? And so that is one case. That is, instead of building the software, we can make use of, or we can buy it from other developers, and we can make use of it. And one more term is coming when we are talking about the software development is reusing the software instead of buying the software. See, some softwares you already purchased, and the same software you can reuse it in other application development rather than buying again and again. That leads to reusing of the software, or that leads to reusability. Understand? Instead of, so first we are, in order to control the essential complexity, what we are going to do, we are thinking of buying the software rather than building it. And once we buy that, we can make use of the same software in different application development, and that leads to software reusability, and that is called as reusing of software. Understood? So when you are using the object oriented paradigm or object oriented approach for the application development, the major advantage is you can reuse the existing code. Understood? You can reuse the part of the existing code in your different applications. That is the major advantage of using the object-oriented programming, because you cannot write the new code again and again for the same type of application or for the same type of functionality. Clear? Understood software reusability? Software reusability means what? Using a part of the code that is already existed in other applications is called as the software reusability, or it is called as reusing of the software. Clear? Any doubt in this software reusability?
No, ma'am.
Yes,
No, ma'am.
because these things you already studied, right? Okay, the last topic of the chapter is corporate hierarchies of good designers. So this is just the theory I am going to explain. Then how we can control the essential complexity. One method of controlling the essential complexity is making use of the software reusability. And second one is to control the essential complexity, we are creating the hierarchies of the managers. Understood? And that is discussed in a paper called as No Silver Bullet that I explained in the last class, right? Frederick Brook has written one paper or published a paper in the IEEE computer transactions, and that paper is this here. Conceptual essence of software engineering, there is no silver bullet. So this paper he published in October 1987 IEEE computer transactions. In that he explained about the controlling of the essential complexity. Okay, so in this article he specified a method for controlling the essential complexity. Then how to control the essential complexity? He suggested to create the corporate hierarchy of great designers, or corporate hierarchy of great software designers. So at the top, software designers will be there, and below them there are a pool of junior engineers, or group of juniors engineers will be placed under the software engineers, and they can groom their replacements. Okay, so here this is the suggestion given by the Frederick Brook, and that suggestion is given in this paper called as No Silver Bullet, that he published in the 1987 IEEE computer transactions. So in that he suggested to create the hierarchy of software engineers, and at the top we have the great top software engineers, and below them a pool of junior engineers, or a group of junior engineers are assigned, and these engineers can groom their replacements. And along with that, one more hierarchy is given. So in that hierarchy is called as the management hierarchy. At the top we have the senior managers, and below the senior managers junior managers are allotted. Okay, so that is related to the analogy of management. So the analogy to management is provided that senior managers sit at the top level and grooming their replacement from a broad base of junior managers. So at the top, senior managers will be there, and at the bottom, junior managers will be there. So for each manager, we are going to allocate a group of junior managers, and these junior managers work according to the senior managers. Or if you consider a group of software engineers, at the top we have the senior or great software engineers, below them we have the junior designers, and these junior designers work according to the great software designers or senior software designers. If the work is not satisfied, then the software engineers may replace the junior designers. Clear? Similarly, in case of management analogy, senior managers will be sit at the top level, and below them a group of junior managers will be there, and these junior managers act according to the senior managers. If they are not following the senior managers, then the senior managers may simply replace the junior managers. And so this is about the hierarchy they have given. But when we consider the today's scenario, we are entering into an era where the software development has become too complex for structured methodologies to handle. Okay, so if you're using the structured methodologies, then the software development becomes too complex. Then we cannot make use of it, right? And what may be the promise? The future only promises additional complexity as hardware evolves at its exponential pace. So, whenever the software developers are developing the product, they are not only we have to think about what type of language they are using, and also they have to think of the existing hardware, because that is also required when we are thinking of it. For example, when suppose the software engineers are writing the operating system code, then they have to know they should have the knowledge of what is the existing processor speed and what type of the generation, whether it is a i3, i5, or core i5 generation processor is available, whether it is a 32-bit processor or 64-bit processor. All these knowledge the developer should have, then only they can write the suitable operating system software, right? So depending on the hardware, existing hardware, the requirements of the software changes, so that the developer should keep in mind while developing a software, right? Hence the future only promises additional complexity as hardware evolves at its exponential pace. Then the question is, can we produce a software development methodology that offers a chance to eliminate accidental complexity or at least control the essential complexity? So here we are mainly concentrating the eliminating the accidental complexity and controlling the essential complexity during the software development. So what kind of languages we can make use of it during the software development, so that we can eliminate the accidental complexity and control the essential complexity. Then what type of languages we can make use of it, or what type of approaches we can make use of it. So if we make use of the object-oriented approach or object-oriented paradigm, that too in its decentralized method, then we can eliminate the accidental complexity and we can control the essential complexity to some extent. So that promise can be given, right? Or we are trying to achieve that, or the software development team try to achieve that by using the object-oriented paradigm, right? Clear? Understood? So here, the what is the main concern of the software development team is, the main concern of the software development team is they have to eliminate the accidental complexity and they have to control the essential complexity. How they can achieve this? By using the object oriented approach, that too in a decentralized manner. Means decentralized control flow means bidirectionally related data and behavior implicit case analysis can be done. And we are also using the information hiding mechanisms in the object-oriented approach. And this is coupled with rapid prototyping and an iterative model of software development. So these are the main characteristics of object-oriented paradigm. So what are the main characteristics? It's the decentralized control flow and bidirectionally related data and behavior, implicit case analysis, and also it is having one more characteristic, that is information hiding mechanism, and it uses the iterative model of software development rather than the waterfall model of software development. Okay, so when we use this, we can eliminate the accidental complexity and we can reduce the essential complexity to some extent. So that is we are achieving through the object oriented approach or object oriented paradigm. So this is about the corporate hierarchies of good designers. So here first we are designing or creating the hierarchy of the software designers. Below the great software designers, we have the junior designers. And one more is the analogy to management, where the senior managers will sit at the top and junior managers are placed below the senior managers. And next we are concentrating on during the software development, what is the the condition or what method we can use to eliminate the accidental complexity and to control the essential complexity. For that, we can make use of the object-oriented approach so that we can eliminate the accidental complexity and we can control the essential complexity to some extent. Okay, so this is about corporate hierarchies of good designers, and this completes the first chapter, and that is the motivation of object oriented programming. So in this chapter you have studied about the evolutionist and the object oriented paradigm. Next you have studied about accidental versus essential complexity. After that you have studied about the waterfall model, iterative model, and today you have studied about same versus a different language prototyping, software usability, and the last topic, corporate hierarchies of good designers. So this completes the first chapter. In the next class, I'm going to start the second chapter. Any doubt in this? Yes, any doubt?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so anyway, you already having the textbook, you just study the textbook first chapter, you study it. If any doubt, you can ask me.
Okay.
If you have no doubt, then I will